What's up? What's happening? We're back with another video. Today, as you can see in the title, what we're doing today is I'm gonna go over what it costs for me to put a B series motor into my Civic. And obviously these numbers will vary depending on where you live, what you can get it for. But I'm just gonna go over what it costs for me to put this motor in. You know, being that I did want certain parts brand new, certain parts OEM, and yeah, I just wanted it to look right when I put it in, make sure it runs right, because this is going into my daily that I drive to work every day. So I'm gonna go into detail about how much I spent, what I spent, why I spent it, I guess you could say, and at the end, you know, if it was worth it or if it wasn't. So yeah, let's get straight into what we're gonna do. Alright, so let's jump into what it costs to put this B series motor into my Civic, or into your Civic, what it could cost. So first off, I want to start off on what I paid for the GSR engine and trans itself. I was able to source it from a real good friend that lives locally out here. It was pulled out of a 2000 Integra GSR that they were parting out because the body was just not straight and they just didn't want to keep it. So I was able to get that, and what it came with was engine, trans, mounts, harness, axles, linkage, and the computer. Obviously some of the things I couldn't use for my application, being that that would be a direct swap into any 94 to 01 Integra or any 92 to 95 Civic. Being that my car's a 2000, any 96 to 2000 Civic requires certain other parts for this to work in your application. That being the engine harness. I couldn't use it for my application, so I ended up holding on to it to use it for my Integra. Also the mounts. Mounts don't work either because any 96 to 00 Civic requires completely different mounts for all three. Well, not all three, but it requires different mounts, and it also requires a different T-bracket. So those are some of the things that came with the swap that I couldn't use. That price right there, $1,600. Next, what I had to do was I ended up getting a new clutch to put in to make with the transmission, and I ended up hitting up JHP. They ended up hooking it up with a competition 1.5 gravity series clutch that came with the clutch, pressure plate, you know, throwout bearing, pilot bearing, everything that I needed. And for that whole clutch kit, it was $265. Also, I ended up going on OfferUp and was able to source a ACT light and flywheel, which I think is a street light flywheel. I picked that up for $40, and I had to get it resurfaced, so that was another $50. So for about $90, I got a light and flywheel to match up with my clutch for my transmission. Let's see. Next, what I ended up doing was, for this motor, I ended up getting a brand new timing belt, brand new tensioner, brand new water pump, and all that jazz. And for that, I ended up going on Rock Auto. Rock Auto had it for $75. Went to O'Reilly's. O'Reilly's had it for about $120. I asked if they could price match, and to my knowledge, they can. I mean, it depends. If you get an employee that really don't want to help out, they ain't gonna help you out. But if you get a cool employee to help you out, then, you know, they'll price match it for you. So I ended up paying $75 at O'Reilly's for it. And the cool thing about that is that now I got lifetime warranty, where if something goes bad, I just take it off, take it over there, and I got a brand new kit again to throw on here. So that right there was $75. With this application, I also wanted to retain power steering and AC. And in order to keep power steering on a 99 2000 Civic, to make sure that the lines and everything match up, I ended up having to get a pump off of a 98 to 01 Integra. And that pump I ended up getting at the junkyard. The pump itself cost me about $20. And for the brackets, the lower bracket you can use on any B series motor. You can use, like, you can get one off of a LS Integra and it's the same thing. The top bracket though, that's the one that is depending on whatever head you're using. If you're using PR3 head, which is a B16 ITR head, you need that specific model bracket. Since mine's a GSR, I needed a P72 bracket. I believe it was a P72. And for that, I ended up getting it from my same buddy that I got the motor from. And for that, I paid $40. So that was with that, I was able to retain power steering, and everything, like I said, matched up. My lines matched up to the pump, and everything was ready to go. Next, I wanted to make sure that I kept AC. I didn't want to change out any of the lines, nothing. I wanted to still keep reusing my same single cam AC compressor. And with that, I went to the junkyard also, and I got a AC bracket off of a 97 to 01 CRV. And for that bracket, I ended up paying $30. You could get away with just paying $7, but I wasn't thinking, and I ended up getting it with the torque mount, which the torque mount I didn't end up using since I ended up buying different mounts. So, like I said, for that mount right there, $30, or you can get away with just paying the $7 at the junkyard. Next up, what I ended up doing to make sure that I could mount my engine correctly into the car was I ended up getting some Hasport motor mounts. And with these Hasport motor mounts, I specifically wanted to get the 3-bolt post mounts for this car because I didn't want to spend the extra money to get the 2-bolt post mount like the Civic Si or the CTR. So I was able to luckily find the EK mounts with 3-bolt post mount. I bought them secondhand off of somebody out in LA, and I bought those for $240. Also, I ended up buying a rear T-bracket off EM1/Civic Type R, and I got that online on jshmotors.com, and it was $40 shipped straight to my door, and I got that within like 2 days. So that was $240 for the mounts. Let's see here. Next, what I ended up doing was I also ended up getting some spark plug wires, some NGK spark plug wires, and also some NGK, I think they were the Laser IX Iridium plugs. For those, the wires ended up costing me $60, and the spark plugs ended up costing me about $23 when I had them price matched with Rock Auto again at O'Reilly's. Now, let's see, let's go over else the other things that I ended up needing. So my ECU, running the same computer that came with this motor, so it's a 2000 GSR ECU. What I ended up having to do to get it to work with my application, I had to move a wire. I think it was the fuel pump wire. I had to move it from one spot to the other to make sure that it started. But in order for it to work in my application, I ended up having to get it sent off to get the immobilizer removed. So I ended up hitting up Catman on Instagram, and the total price for that was $85. With that $85 included was me sending it to him, having him remove the immobilizer, and him sending it back to me. So like I said, that was $85. I ended up getting a ITR exhaust manifold, which was the 421 JDM ITR manifold, and I got that off of a buddy of mine, and for that I ended up paying $120 for the manifold. Now I had to get exhaust work done on it because the manifold didn't line up with my OEM piping, because I'm still using my single cam piping. And for that exhaust work, I ended up paying $70 at a local place out here called Eastside Muffler, which these guys have been in business for years, and these to me are my go-to guys out here for anything related to parts that I need locally, exhaust work that I need, even alignment, which I just got done recently to my Integra when I took it out to the track. So that was other work I had done. Now, other little things that I ended up doing was magnetic drain bolts. I got the blocks ones, and for those I ended up paying $25 for the transmission and the engine. That's optional, obviously. You can still reuse your OEM ones. Makes no difference other than you're collecting the shavings every time you do an oil change, which I find to be pretty neat. Other things that I did were OEM Honda parts. Now the OEM Honda parts, these obviously are completely optional. I did them because I wanted my motor to not leak oil, and I wanted everything to be completely sealed, brand new. Since the motor's out, it's the best time to switch everything out. And on those parts, I ended up making 2 orders. Now my first order was $97. My second order was $141. In those 2 orders, some of the parts that I ordered were a brand new dipstick, brand new oil pan gasket, brand new rear main seal, front main seal, brand new valve cover gasket, spark plug tube seals. I got the new cap on the side. I changed out all the gaskets on the VTEC solenoid. I changed out the small little O-ring gasket that fits under the cam caps inside the engine. I did my cam seals. Let's see, what else did I do? I also did a new exhaust manifold gasket. I did every single seal outside that you can think of for the transmission, which were the axle seals, and also for the shift rod seal I also did as well. I also did the oil cap. There's a seal underneath the oil cap, and on that one also I changed the seal on that, because what I always noticed from my other motors is that oil would always come out onto the valve cover off that, and since I had freshly painted my valve cover, I didn't want to get it, you know, all full of oil. So that was another one. Also did a brand new distributor cap, rotor. I even got the small little screw for the rotor, and that's all OEM Honda. Pretty sure that was most of the parts. Now the Skunk 2 intake manifold, on that, I ended up getting that basically for free. I traded a GSR V2 AM intake for it, and that intake was made for the GSR motor, but that's made for that chassis. And with my application, it didn't work, so I had no use for it. I ended up finding a guy online that was willing to trade a Skunk 2 intake manifold plus a Skunk 2 70mm throttle body, like straight for that intake. So I traded that off, and I ended up getting a new intake manifold gasket from O'Reilly's. That I don't have the price, but I believe it was somewhere around $10. Now, a couple of the other things that I had to do for it, which I didn't put down, or I'm not going to put down in this video, are things like the hoses. For those, I just bought hoses from O'Reilly's. Some of them I used for vacuum lines. Some of them were to run coolant and things of that nature. Those also had to run lines for my PCV in the back to tee it off and make sure everything ran there, and also to make sure that I had my cruise control working, because I wanted cruise control. I wanted everything to run. Basically what I wanted when I did this swap is I wanted it to be exactly how it would have come from the dealer. I didn't want to cut no corners, or I didn't want to cut no big corners, but I wanted to make sure that everything was in there and it looked like it came with the car. I mean, obviously I'm running this ugly intake that I had to throw on because I didn't use the intake I wanted for it, but eventually that'll be changed out. But for now, that works. That's pretty much it. So in total, with pretty much everything I spent for this motor, adding everything up, it came out to a total of $3,177. Now, to some that might be a lot, to some that might not be a lot. To me, I feel like it's pretty pricey, but it's not bad considering what it is, because this motor as it sits, I can get it smogged in California and it'll pass smog. So I can legally get this barred here in California. And to me, that's invaluable, being that, you know, with such strict laws that they have out here, being able to have this motor into my car, to me it's worth it. Now, you might get away with paying less. I mean, obviously you might be able to do a B6, you could do a B16 swap, and with the B16 swap, you can get the price even lower than what I paid. You know, but to each his own on whatever they can find, whatever you want to pay, and things of that nature. I will say though, this compared to when I had a single cam engine in it, way better. Man, getting on the on-ramps now is so much more better than with a single cam. When you're trying to overtake somebody on the freeway, you're trying to pass somebody and you see somebody coming behind you, it's so much easier now to just downshift, pass, and get around than to, like, you know, downshift and then be right on your bumper because your car doesn't speed up fast enough. This is definitely worth the money. And yeah, after being in driving this car around for about 2 years with a single cam and now this, the fun factor is just way better, way more fun with this in here. So I just want to thank you guys for watching the video and going through everything with me on what I spent to put this motor in your car. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'm always responding if people comment me. I know my channel is new and I don't have too many followers, but if you could help me out by sharing my page, it'd mean a lot to me, because I really like to get my content out there so that people could just see the type of things that I'm working on, and it might inspire them to want to do the same. This is something that I'm like really passionate about. Hondas, I've been into Hondas for about 20 years now, and it's just something I love to talk about. So if you got any questions, man, feel free to hit me up. I'm always willing to talk back and, you know, conversate about it. All right, so stay tuned for the next one. And like I said, thank you guys for watching. Peace.